They're dirty. Then they got ink in there.
Dust.
Then somebody put a banana peel on.
There's a banana peel in there, and it just keeps
iPad fell
stacking,
into
and it
it.
keeps stacking. And if you ever seen a person trying to catch up to that thing, taking them out of the box, stacking them, it's such a hard job, and it gets stressful. And they're wearing gloves, some of them too, because it gets so hot. It's literally hot off the press.
We live below the fold. We live underneath those incredible brands.
What is the vision? Right? So like there's a story, but then it's like, where are you trying to go? If it's compelling enough, then you start to get people to believe in it.
When we're not talking about what we can do with the robots, I think a good conversation that we can bring up, obviously see we have a special guest here today, talk about what happens when growth is not there. When we're living in a universe maybe where, the insane growth that we're used to is just straight up not there. So where do we turn our attention to? We go to efficiencies. We go to automation. We go to how can we bring down costs? So today we have awesome guests for you guys. We have Oscar, who leads our engineering team, who would be the best person to bring in for this this conversation. Of course, you got the two sober guys here next to you that
5 days sober.
5 days sober, that we can hopefully bring some type of value to the audience about, hey, if growth is not there, which we talk to shops constantly, and they're like, we're just not growing. Okay, well, we usually talk about growth strategies, product development, and coming up with new concepts and new ideas. But there's another lever to pull, and that's when we start to focus on efficiencies and automation. So, Oscar, welcome. Why don't you talk about one? All right, like let's just give ideas away. All right, like free idea day.
Free idea day. Okay.
Why don't we just talk about like one of the successful automations that we've implemented, and then you could associate, which I know is your favorite thing, is like how much time has it saved?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me, guys. My favorite topic is save time. Right?
Yep.
Save time and help our teams be more efficient. And the number one I go to is data entry.
Yep.
Right? We, as humans, hate data entry. So
it's monotonous.
Yeah. It's like you don't want to sit there just having to type things over and over and over and over again. Right? Yep. You want to be able to have systems in place to be able to help you just automate it. So the number one thing we did to the art team was remove data entry altogether from their workflow. So instead of having to copy their Photoshop their channels over into our platform, is now we have a direct integration with Photoshop that basically gives them the data and they enter it into our platform. Yep. And it takes seconds versus minutes.
So we can bring some hopeful value, because not our audience is often merchandise companies or sometimes shops as well, but people who most likely sell merchandise for a living. How did you discover that this was a place to double click? How did you discover, like, wait a minute, why are you doing that, and how do I automate that?
Well, I think one of the pain points was we had to listen to our team, right? It's our team, and overall any team in general, you got to listen to them to know what is it that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And with them, I overheard a conversation saying, "Oh, I got to enter this data." I'm like,
"Wait a minute.
Wait, what did you say?"
Say that again. Yeah.
You have to enter in data for X amount of orders or whatnot. They're like, yeah, we do it all the time. Well, bingo. Let's do something about it. And then I kind of started doing a little shadowing, right? Just seeing them in their environment, in their workflow, what they're doing, it was a couple hours that I just sat there watching them. And that's when it clicked. It's like, hey, why not just do something that's going to allow them to just instantly do it?
Yeah.
You know, copy the data.
That's a simple point, but I think like it's an important one, right? There's like so much of us that have shops or are running a team of artists or account managers, and like if you hear the same complaints over and over again, I mean, sometimes you got to filter it out. You know, as you know, managing people, you're going to hear a lot of that stuff, but when you hear the same thing over and over again, it becomes a pattern. You're like, what can you build? Right. And sometimes, you know, technology doesn't always fix things. You could probably speak to that, where it's like it's not always productive, you know. But in our industry, I feel like a lot of companies are always like hodgepodging like a lot of different technologies together. So you'll talk to one company that has like 7 different platforms, 7 different technologies. So as simple as it is just to listen to the team, I think it is a good point. Like take the feedback, listen, and then figure out what's going to work for the team.
Yeah, and even within, you know, our organization or even others, it's like having the time, maybe an idea day, or maybe it's like, hey, sit everybody down. Guys, what was your pain point today? Right? And having that understanding, not just on that department, but everybody else's. Because then you start getting ideas of, oh, wait, you can do X, Y, and Z. And with technology today, right, there shouldn't be anything that you can't do.
Yeah.
Right? Anything now that is manual should be done, you know, should be automated, period.
Yeah. But it is a great example of actually building technology to solve a problem. And I think, Carlo, what you're saying is oftentimes we see people just build technology for the sake of building
just
it.
for the sake of it.
Oh, I have this this art, you know, thing that we use, and like, well, it seems complicated. Yeah, but I know, but it's so trendy, and yeah, well, great. It didn't solve a problem. You know,
Right.
Email works just as good, or whatever the case may be. So, I love that. And give us an idea, so you know, maybe people can understand how much time in human hours did this Photoshop to our platform integration save?
So this saved us per year a total of 69 days per year of data entry. So when I did the math, and obviously, you know, we built that, it's like, whoa.
It's a lot of room for activities.
Yeah,
in those days,
exactly.
you know?
So now I go back there, I'm like, what's up, guys? You got so much time on your hands.
Yeah, you making espressos over here, right?
Yeah.
What else can you do?
And what was the lift? Because the other thing I want to be like conscious of is that not every company has an engineering team and a talent like yourself, and you know, your team around you. So you know, a lot of this stuff can actually be done with software that's readily available. It's
Right.
more about like getting yourself out of your own way and really thinking in this manner.
Yeah, so like even with this integration, I had 0 experience in Photoshop, right?
Yep.
So, you know, when I think about it, I'm like, wait, why am I thinking just about learning how to code in Photoshop? There are tools out there that we can use that are available to us in starting in, you know, early 2024, now and really useful in 2025, AI.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, something like this, a plugin to build for Photoshop and with your own platform would take weeks to build. Took me 2 hours.
Wow.
And then I didn't even like it.
2 hours.
you
2 hours gave you back 69 days.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
I didn't even like the first iteration of it. Like I had the initial version of them having to, you know, create a file or whatnot, and then I went home and went into a rabbit hole and built the full-on integration, which only took me an hour.
Wow.
So 3 total hours to save the team 69 days.
That's a good ROI.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
It's a hell of an ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like that's like thinking in the business in a different manner. Where everybody's so focused on top line revenue. You know, top line revenue is always the most likely conversation. Whereas, you know, maybe it's not so much about driving more opportunity. It's about being more efficient.
Right.
So that's a great one. I've got another one. This one goes way back, but it is still my favorite one. I know you're going to remember this. We used to have an entire fleet of humans that created carton labels. So if we get an order for 10,000 units, for example, first and foremost, we had to build out the template of the carton label, client name, garment type, color, box one of, and we would use Avery, right? Like the Avery label system.
Yep.
And a human would do the math first on like a calculator. And they would say, okay, it's t-shirts, so it's going to be 72 per box divided by the 10th. And we would actually make each one of these labels one after another after another. And then when we automated that, it was we had an army of people that this was their sole purpose. And the moment we click print and those carton labels spit out, it was like, you know, sliced bread. It was like actually like magic. And that one goes way, way back. I mean, it seems like a little ancient, but even like today, I mean, it's just magical to think of things in that manner. Like, do we do things the way that they've just always been done? Or do we think, how can we automate this? How can we do this more efficiently? And of course, obviously, we took the human error out. Right. And now what do we do with all of those people? We put them into actually value add roles, right? Like, you're not making a product, you're not adding value to the world or the universe or anybody if you're just putting a label on the box, right? If you could they moved over to press operators, they moved over to the embroidery department or fulfillment or whatever the case may be, to actually add value rather than do something that could be automated.
Yeah, and at the end of the day too, you know, when that data lives in the system, you know, why take it out of one system to put it into the other?
Yep.
Right? Because there's obviously going to be a cost associated with that other system that you're using. So now you're saving money there, right? You're then able to have the data just print out and the way you need it to.
Yep.
So it definitely helps.
Not to mention the error rate.
Yeah.
Right. When you got a bunch of humans back there and we're all working and we have a deadline to hit, especially in this industry.
Summer,
it's hot.
You know,
it's hot. Then it's cold.
It's hot. If you're in Daytona, it's super hot. It's 95 degrees, 100 degrees. Humidity's high, and you're racing against the clock. UPS is knocking on your door, ready to pick up, and you're like, "All right, just put it whatever you got. Put it all in the box." So the automation helps with that. You know, the automation helps with accuracy, and then the customer's happy. You know, the person receiving the package and counting in the goods at the show, they're happy because the counts are on. So, yeah, that was a huge one, and you know, probably a big kind of thing we're going to talk about today is upskilling, like you mentioned, like all those people that we had.
Didn't lose their job. We've never decreased the total amount of team members.
That's not the goal. The goal with automation and all the things we're going to talk about is never to decrease people. It's to upskill them and give them something that's going to add more value to the organization. So that's going to be a theme, I'm sure, in a lot of things that we talk about.
Yep. And make their life easier a little bit. Right?
And happier.
Right.
Definitely happier.
Who wants to come in and just, like
make Avery labels.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, Avery.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only loser here.
Spend 90% of their day entering data when they want to create meaningful art.
Says no one.
Yeah.
All right, pick another one. What's another favorite one?
Ooh.
I've got a couple, if not.
Oh, I have a long list of them.
Go top.
Robotics?
Save robotics to last.
Save it to the last.
Because I believe that Sal and Michelle and Alondra are going to give everybody the sneak peek of robot number 2.
Yeah, and that's
at the
my
end of
favorite
this.
topic for sure.
We're going to leave that one to the end.
AI.
Okay.
Overall.
Yep.
So we started.
Yeah, like it's such a buzzword, right? Like everybody uses that word. Okay. How are you applying AI to the merchandise space? So that's an important question.
Right. So, you have to, not everything can be solved with AI, right? Just because it's trendy, just because it's the cool thing to do right now, right? Not every single thing can be useful, with AI. So one of the challenges, I guess, we thought about is like, okay, how can we step into it, right now? Is there any data entry stuff that we can kind of quickly, remove and by using AI? And one of them was simple orders.
Yeah.
Right.
Just reading the PDF.
Just reading the purchase order. Many times we receive a purchase order and then we create the order, and then that's valuable time right there that is used just entering it.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things we did was very simple: upload your PO. Have Gen AI, think in the background, and then boom, your order is created with just a simple data.
Yep.
Right? Simple. Just your order name, your dates that are associated, who the client is, the contact. Now that is about 20 seconds that you get back.
Yeah.
And when you're entering so many orders.
And it's foundational.
Right.
It's foundational in which it's learning every single time we're uploading one of those purchase orders.
Exactly.
It's understanding, and then you continue to build. Right. I also think you make a great point where, like, if you think of completing the entire task as 100%, I think you often get stuck with like, oh, it doesn't do X, Y, and Z,
right.
Or whatever. And then people put their hands up and say, oh, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you get 20% of the way there, you save yourself 20%. And after 20%, we get 50%. Mm-hmm. And it's, an iterative thing that we're constantly improving on. And that's the road to success. The road to success is not wait until you're 100% there. Because if you do, somebody's going to just blow by you.
Right. And it's important to, just think about it incrementally.
Yep.
Right? Like you said, it's like, let's just find one little pinpoint. 20 seconds right now, yeah, you'll get back. But then as we continue to iterate and learn, because not every single, purchase order is the same, right? You're teaching this model to continue to learn, and now you have the data available to start teaching it new things.
Yep.
It's like a baby, right? They first start crawling before they start walking, unless you have a, superhuman or a goat.
Baby
right?
athlete.
Got yourself a goat.
But yeah, it's important to take those foundational steps forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like automation is like an evolution. You almost want to remember how we used to do things. You want to have like those moments like, do you remember how we used to do this? Yeah. And sometimes when you're growing your company, you have new people coming in. They don't even get to experience the old way. Right, and then you become the old person in the room. Like,
then
you don't even know how we
spoiled.
We used to walk uphill in the snow. Like, the silver spoons. They have no idea what it used to be like, because when they walk into the company, it's like, oh wow, this is beautiful. This is well done. But those that have been around long enough, they remember. Like for us, I remember a big one for us. One of my favorite ones is it used to, all of our account managers, and then we had a whole team of finance people. They used to do manual invoicing. Like we'd finish a job. And then, something may have changed when the job first went in to the job coming out. Something may have changed with color count. Maybe throughout the art process, someone added specialty ink, like something changed. And at the end of that invoice, it has to be audited. First, make sure you're covering all your charges, audited physically, manually, and then sent to your customer.
Email to the customer.
Email to the customer. That took like 5 or 6 different people. And I remember there'd be stacks.
Yeah,
like literal stacks of invoices ready to get
on
through.
People's burrows.
And if you missed the day of invoicing, the next day the stacks double.
Right.
And you missed another day, now the stacks triple. Every day you missed invoicing, that stack got bigger and bigger.
And if somebody went on vacation, we find 100 invoices, and we're like, "Oh my God! Do you know how much money is like a physical cash?"
I got the best one. One time, I'm not going to
somebody hit
them.
them.
The rep took the invoice home with them to catch up. So they took a batch of them, took them home to catch up over the weekend, never brought them back.
And then the dog ate their homework.
And the dog ate my homework.
Yeah.
you take the physical invoice with you.
Yeah. Which actually, having a platform that you could take it home and work on it at home is actually something
and
that
not have your
we
dog
forget
eat
it. Yeah, that we forget about. Period.
Right.
is a leap forward. But yeah, I remember.
It's funny.
That.
It's funny you say that because like it feels like it was long ago, but it really wasn't.
No.
Right, and I think what was it? 2020. We're in 2025. 2023 is when we had the automation in place.
The invoice automation.
Yeah, the invoice automation that now every single night your invoices go out.
Automatic
you can have
batch.
Hundreds of invoices go out every night.
Yep.
And no human has to do it. No human has to audit it. It just does it.
Yep. And I think what we're trying to inspire here is change and evolution. We could tell you and the audience everything that we have and what we have going on, but it's really about changing. And we're 17 years in, and you're saying just 2 years ago we made a change. Just yesterday we made a change. It's the inspiration of evolution and never stopping and never kind of getting comfortable.
Yeah. And the important part is, like you said, not everybody has, a fancy platform or whatever to use. The way to get in is by going, seeing your process, right? find your pain points, find the things that users are taking so long to, to do, and start simplifying those tasks. It could be as simple as maybe using an Excel file, right? And putting everything into one. It's like you're stepping into it. Yep. And now you perfect, whatever process you're doing into a simple Excel file or whatever it is. And then you're like, okay, now I can automate. Yeah. We perfected it. Let's go to the next step and let's have AI do it, or, whatever, thing you're doing.
Yeah, that leads me into like one very interesting decision and automation that you recently built. And I think it's helpful for people to kind of like hear how we like thought through this, was our Slack integration. And you would think like, okay, well, if you guys have like a technical team and you have the ability to really build things, why aren't you building messaging and communication like inside of your platform? Mm-hmm. Why did you guys make the choice to integrate into Slack to retain all of the communication there? And I think another maybe mistake that I hear when I talk to businesses is like, again, they build things for the sake of building them. Mm-hmm. It's like, but maybe because they can, which is valiant if you're trying to win the high school science achievement award, right? But is not so valiant if now you just created two options. Mm-hmm. So now you have communication in Slack. If if that's what we're using, our internal communication source is Slack, and then we added another set of ways to communicate, and so now you basically have a 50% chance that you're going to find the information that you need. So why don't you talk through like how you thought about the Slack integration and why we did it?
Yeah. So, we every day, we see our teams, entering, just manual communication into Slack, right, about the order itself. So being on those channels allows me to just
feel the pain.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. Right. So, sometimes we're stuck in our ways of doing things, and it kind of bypasses you. And it's almost like with the art team. It's like I had a eureka moment, right? It's like, whoa, wait, you're doing what?
Yeah.
It was the same thing with the Slacks, with the Slack messages that our team is doing. It's like I kept seeing it over and over and over again, and I'm like, wait, why are we doing it this way? We already have the data, again, in our platform. Yep. That. Why aren't we just going that route of just sending the message? But then, of course, like you said, you think about, wait, why don't we have it in our platform? And not everybody has access to the platform, yep. Right? It depends on your role, right? Certain roles don't require you to have access to the platform or have to be in it.
Yeah.
And so why have two sources of communication when yes, your source of truth is the platform, but the communication is done in Slack.
Yep.
So when we thought about it, it's like now, because technology is changing at all times, the ability to have these integrations make it so much easier. Yep. So, and that's what we did. My team was able to, quickly, within actually 24 hours, spin up the actual integration communication of our platform over to Slack, and the data is there. So every time the order goes through, bing.
And it's the beauty is like it's all uniform, it all looks perfect. It right. tags the right people. Again, like taking that human error completely out.
Right, and depending on the order, it'll tag a different department as well to yep. be attached on it, and that way there's no human error of oh man, I forgot to tag this team or that team.
Yep.
Right. So it's just the little things.
Yeah. And you let Slack do what Slack does best.
Right. Yeah.
How many, several millions of dollars they put into, maybe billions. I don't know what their tech spend is, but
and then
that's what they do best.
If you're using Slack for already, let's say, years upon years, it's like you have all that historical data that now if you add it into your own technology, it's like now you got to transfer all that data over into that so you can have the historical reference. Otherwise, you're
Pay
going
the server
back and forth.
fees and
It just made more sense.
Yeah.
Right? It made it easier, less headaches, and at the end of the day, you have your historical references in there.
Yeah, and again, if you're not building technology, you can think of this as using bill.com, right? We're still seeing physical checks come in the mail from the postman. I mean, like, okay, integrate bill.com into your business and click, and send an ACH. Or, there's like a million different ways I think that we're just trying to inspire. If growth is not available, or even better, if there is growth, then you have more of a reason, to implement these, automations or efficiency pickups to just have an overall better company.
Right, and have the teams do what they're meant to do.
Yep.
Right, have the art team, make cool art.
Yep.
Right, instead of focusing too much on the data entry side.
Yep. Okay, I know this is the one that we want to highlight. It is not platform specific, because we talked about like actual software quite a bit. We're going to move into the hardware, and I know this is one of the most exciting parts of your job for 2025. So why don't you talk about Robot 1, which has been in action for quite some time, the trace systems, and then why don't you go then into
Robo 2,
the hands, right?
Which we're still trying to find a very unique name for it, right?
Yeah, RTD2 was a good one, but we're
I like X Factor.
Or the claw.
X Factor, yeah.
The claw.
The claws. But yeah, so Robo 1 essentially, the stacker, all right? What does that do? When the garments come off the heat, right?
Off
it's
the dryer.
like the dryer. It's like you have this stacker that just stacks them.
Yep.
Instead of having...
And it's a camera system where it's reading, looking for the motion. When it sees the motion, the
Right.
tray is coming and perfectly
It
pulls
senses it, and
Yep.
it grabs it, and then it puts it.
Great time to layer some video on here right there, Sal.
But yeah, so essentially you would have two individuals at the end of the dryer, right, that would be grabbing the shirts off and setting them down.
Yep.
With the stacker, Robo 1, or whatever we end up naming it, because I think that's still up in the air. But essentially, it does it for you, right? Now you have, the individuals that were at the end of the dryer doing, being press operators or doing other, skillful, jobs.
Never, and I could, back up and talk about like how do we arrive to kind of jump in here. First and foremost, we went out and polled all of our team members, and we were like, okay, raise your hand if you love this role. If you love burning your fingers off, then let us know, because maybe it's not something we want to apply robotics to. And of course, every single one of the team members are like, hey, we do this role because we're looking for career development. We want to. This is an entry level position for us to get into, learn more, become part of the culture, and go on to do bigger and better things. And we're like, okay, what if we can speed that up? And like the beauty of having these pieces of robotics there is that when there's nothing to do, which is often, it's not just sitting there, right? Like it lives there. It doesn't have to leave and come back.
Right.
And so, when one of those dryers are not working, the beauty is that it's ready and raring to go. You don't have to find somebody to go get them to bring them back and say, okay, we're going to fire up press 3. We need somebody on the left side of the dryer. This piece is always there, ready and raring to go. The moment that shirt comes off, boom, it's there. You don't have to grab them from another department or something like that.
Right.
So it was like the combination of those two things. It's like, number one, do people love that job? And if not, it's a great place to automate. And then number two, it could literally be on call, on duty all the time, every day.
Yeah, doesn't call in sick, which is great. But the beautiful thing is, I don't know if anyone's ever caught a T-shirt off that belt before. Anyone in the audience or anyone here?
They're hot.
They're so hot.
They're hot.
And I've caught a couple T-shirts. Joey kicked me out of production pretty quick, and Rich. But catching those shirts at the speed that we run, they're
spitting on it.
They just. some some shops you'll see it like built a cardboard box to catch them, like they're just
and they're
full-
dirty. Then they got ink in
like catching
there.
dust.
Then somebody put a banana peel on.
There's a
one.
banana peel in there, and it just keeps
iPad fell
stacking,
into
and it
it.
keeps stacking. And if you ever seen a person trying to catch up to that thing, taking them out of the box,
hard.
stacking them, it's such a hard job, and it gets
Right.
stressful. And they're wearing gloves, some of them
Yeah.
too, because it gets so hot. It's literally hot off the press, right?
Yeah.
And we have 2 people catching each belt. You scale that to I don't know how many belts we have now, but that's a lot of people.
A lot.
And it's such a monotonous job. And how could one person that's doing that, burning their hands, trying to keep up with the pace, how could they be looking for quality control at the same time? It's very hard.
Yep.
Now, when you have the t-shirt stacker doing that for you, these people are being upskilled a bit. Some of them I see when I walk back there, they're actually looking at the print, making sure that it's registered and the colors are on, and that maybe the machine didn't run out of ink, because you mess one shirt up, goes all the way around, you messed up 16 or 18, depending on how many heads you have. So even that, just being able to then focus on quality control, that's an upskill,
Yep.
right? That alone. So
And the morale too, right?
yeah,
if you're
morale.
not burning your fingers, it's like you're pretty happy
little happy.
individual.
Yeah. If you're programming robots, it is a much more gratifying role than
Oh,
burning
for
your
sure.
fingers off.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, now
So on to the
big one.
the big
Robo
one.
Yep.
The one that we're actually currently back there training and working through. There's kinks here and there that we're finding, but back on one of the stations we have a bot, an actual.
go ahead. I think you could tell them we decided to focus on the inside tagging press first.
Yes.
Because it's smaller, a little bit more bite size, and far more consistency.
Yep.
So this first robotic hands, again, we're nameless at this point, so I think we might have to get on that. I'll also add that this is a proprietary piece of robotics to us and Culture Studio and the team, and so it's in serious, of course, beta mode, and it's getting better and better every single day. But if you're look back at the all the years that we've been doing this, getting our first automated machine, that was monumental. That Joey didn't have to actually print every one of these garments by hand. And I don't know. I mean, and then I haven't seen much change in the actual systems. This is the second monumental change that I'm seeing in our career, where can we actually get these robotics to be part of the value add chain, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. So if we kind of step back before getting into the weeds of the robotics, I could talk for hours on it. What is the current layout of it?
Yep.
Right. It's right there in that station, you have 2 individuals, right? One that is putting the garment on there
Yep.
and loading it, and the other one is removing it.
Yep.
It's a little bit harder to have a robot loading it.
You got to go find the
Right.
shirts. You got to, they're all different. Some are fleece, some are not. So
Yeah, so when we think about this, it's what's the easy entry here?
Yeah.
Right? Where can we start to see if this
easiest
can actually
barrier.
work?
Yeah.
So what we found was that removing the garment from the pallet is the point of entry that we wanted to start with.
Same technique over and
over.
over and over again.
Remove, drop.
Yep.
Remove and drop.
And this piece does have a vision system, where I definitely want you to talk about storing its vision.
Yeah. So the robot now, what it can do is it will grab the garment off of where it's at, remove it, and place it down.
Yep.
And it continues to do so over and over again, right? And the beauty of this bot is that it also contains a camera on there. And now, of course, we're in a little bit of an R&D phase right now, and really trying to see what are the capabilities of this bot and what we can and cannot do. But one of the cool things that we can do is, because of this vision system, right? We have the ability to take photos and have it upload
Yep.
into Google Drive or wherever you're storing your files.
Yep.
And obviously there's a little bit of programming that needs to be done to it to get that to work, but it has the capability.
So I think it could take a picture of every single print on every single garment.
Yeah.
You know, meaning that you could pull up complete historical photos of every single print that is done.
You know, sometimes in
it's
this
a game
industry,
changer.
sometimes in this industry, we need to provide proof.
Yeah.
You know, all the screen printers and manufacturers out there know what we're talking about. You got to provide proof.
Yep.
And when you can provide proof at that level, it's an incredible thing. You know, when you're doing retail production, you're doing things that are going into big box stores. And I think it's also like when you provide a photo to your customer, it gives them a sense of trust. And they're like, all right, I feel good about this. It's a high level client.
Involves them in the craft.
Super high profile. Thank you for the photo. It's like, it brings trust to the entire production.
Right. Yeah. And then now with the bot having the vision system capabilities, right? It's removing it, placing it down for you. It's doing counting, so you know your counts as well.
That's another big part. Yeah,
the
counting. Yeah, you kind of glazed right over
that
one.
That's a big part.
Who knows on like how many have we tagged? You know, how many have we tagged so far? How many how many are left? I mean, it's just
how many have been tagged?
How many have been tagged?
That's
and the beauty of it is that, you know, you're able to tap into the robot, you know, and you can do what you need it to do. Yep. Basically, you know, based on your orders, based on your, you know, your counts, have the KPIs sent over to you once it's completed, so you know how long it ran for, how many it did, all the QC photos, you know, things like that, of that nature. So, you know, there's a lot.
Yeah, even counting is a pain point. I remember last year we were doing a massive project, and the client,
right around this time.
Right around this time, exactly 1 year ago today. And they're like, hey, can you give me how many have you printed? I was like, damn, I got to go send somebody out there. And
actually, it's running on multiple presses and multiple shifts.
It's all over the place. So you literally have to go out there and start counting. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
not today.
Takes so much time.
Not today.
That's a beautiful thing.
Having our tech at the press has been another monumental integration that we didn't even get to talk on today. It just, I think it brings professionalism. Obviously, it increases efficiencies, but just having that information readily available puts you in a totally different standard.
And in real time, right? You can call right now and say, hey, order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where are we at with it? And we can know exactly how many small, medium, large, XL, whatever size it is, have been completed now.
Well, I know this didn't happen overnight either. I know how long you guys have been kind of, you know, talking to manufacturers and developing things and talking about what's going to work for our industry. So it's cool to see it come to life. I know I've been telling my customers for over a year now that we're stepping into this and that we're starting to develop technology and robots. So now to actually see them in production and flowing.
Proof is on YouTube.
Proof is there. It's real. Yeah.
And there's more to come, right? Yeah. We're only scratching the surface now.
Yep.
So 2025 and beyond, you know, what can we do?
Let's go.
All right. Yeah. So if you're interested in nerding out with us anymore about robotics or technology or efficiencies or anything like that, please follow us on all of our channels. Hopefully we're going to layer in some really cool footage without going too deep. We got a little bit of ways to go on like ensuring that we're really nailing this stuff correctly. But please join in. We can get 4 comments. That will be great.
Get 4 comments and help us name the robots.
Yeah.
Drop us a couple names in the comments. What should we name? Robot 1, Robot 2. But appreciate you, Oscar. Always great working with the team. And thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
There you go. That's the pod.